Welcome to another live episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, fresh out of the gym. I gotta actually have a towel underneath me so I don't sweat everywhere. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now. Shout out to the lovely Ashley Ariana for joining me. We're talking all things 49ers, including a big time win and something I really like to see from this win from the 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals. All right, 45-29. We are going to talk about the guys that are killing it: Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and something that I've been looking for from just the injury standpoint. How will they overcome some injuries with the defensive line? All right, Eric Armstead, Hargraves. We're going to discuss that and much, much more. Appreciate everybody for tuning in right now. And make sure you guys, if you haven't already, download the Underdog Fantasy app, because the show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. All right, use promo code Crocky when you go, and they'll double your deposit up to $100. All right, but let's get to it, man. It's interesting. Like each week, I feel like we find out more about the 49ers, kind of what they are, and there's different tests that they've been having to go through. So obviously it's very clear in this game. You see the 49ers kind of go through, they win 45-29. But one thing that I've been wanting to see, and I see it put right here, the 49ers offense is battle tested. Everybody complained when the 49ers gave up 22 points to the Minnesota Vikings. It's like, oh, this end of the world, everything's burning down. They go 22 points. I'm like, well, can you put some of this on the offense? Like the offense, they have to like be able to score more points. You know what I'm saying? In those type of situations, if needed. And it was needed in Minnesota. They weren't able to do it. We saw the same thing against the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, man, we need the offense to score more points. They weren't able to. They gave up 31. Well, in this game, you gave up 29. And I know some of it was kind of garbage time, but my thoughts on it kind of still is the same. Can you put up as many points as needed? And in this game where you're missing some of the big dogs in the middle with Hargraves and Eric Armstead, you still found a way to say, you know what, defense, I know you're missing some of your big dogs. I know this might be a challenging task for you, rallying in this quarterback. I know you're giving up 284 rushing yards on the ground, but don't worry, defense. We got your back. We're going to ball out. We're going to score touchdowns. We're going to make Moody only kick one field goal and scored 7 touchdowns. And I think that was a terrific job by the 49ers. Definitely something I want to see. And it felt like they were a little bit more battle tested. Your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. I thought of you when I saw that because I feel like anytime the 49ers lost, that was kind of the narrative, right? Was that the defense should have done better. And you always would point to other teams in different games where their defense gave up way more. I think it was with the Philadelphia Eagles in that Bills game where it was just like they would constantly get ahead and then their defense would give up a touchdown. It's like, okay, I got to go back out there and do it again. I got to go back out there and do it again. And although it never felt that close because the 49ers are always up a little bit more than that, it did feel like anytime a mishap happened on defense, the 49ers offense immediately scored. And so you're like, as a fan, you're just breathing a lot easier. And it didn't, I think because of the offensive rhythm throughout the entire game, even though there was defensive lapses, it never felt like the game was in question. Where separately at different times, it's felt like if the 49ers defense wasn't holding their own, the game was definitely in question.
Right. And I think that was the feeling that we had against the Minnesota Vikings. It's like, come on, defense, you got to get it stopped. I'm like, wait, hold on. The offense, again, and my big argument then was this is an offensive-driven league. Like, it is set up for you to be able to get a bunch of yards. It's set up for you to be able to score a bunch of points. The way they're calling games, gosh, there's several times this weekend I'm watching games and I just see this severely underthrown deep ball. And the DB who's in good position to make a play on the ball ends up running into the receiver and it's like they throw a flag, right? And I'm just like, that is a BS flag. But I understand. I get in the sense of what they're trying to do, but use that to your advantage. Use that to be able to get more yards. Use that to be able to get more points. And 49ers didn't need that kind of play, but it was really cool to just see anytime the 49ers defense needed the offense to make a play, the offense 100% did it. So I think that was something that I definitely wanted to see. And Peacock, of course, Locked on 49ers, come at you 5 days a week. Peacock asked me about it last night, and I hadn't had a chance to think about it because yesterday – for most of the game, or not even most of the game, especially like the last part of it, like I was at a 7-on-7 tryout. So part of the game I wasn't able to see. I can hear. I had an AirPod in my ear and my phone in my pocket, so I'm listening to the game mostly throughout the fourth quarter. And Peacock had asked me, like, was that what you wanted to see? Like, are they battle testing? I'm like, man, I haven't really thought about it. And then I thought about it last night, and I'm like, that is more of what I want to see. Like, you gave up 29 points, and you scored as many points as was needed. So we know the 49ers offense could do that. We know the 49ers offense has that kind of firepower. We understand that this offense has, like, greats. And I don't know if it's as simple as just having Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams out there, and that's what just makes it all come together. And now all of a sudden you're fully functional. I have always said that at some point you'll have to play without guys and figure out how to overcome that. And they did a great job of overcoming the defense missing guys. I don't want them to have to play without any of the offensive guys, but I just feel like at times it's kind of inevitable. So it's something in the back of my mind, like what it looks like if you don't have your full weaponry. But right now, clearly that's something they don't have to worry about at all. And when everybody's there, this team does not lose.
There was a moment in that game. Did you hold your breath during that one play? Were you not watching during the time? There was like, I want to say it was a pretty short time, but where Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy both got like injured. They were taken out of the game for a second.
Yeah, I was watching, and I didn't know exactly what it was. My initial reaction, because I saw a lot of people like, oh, this guy, like, yeah, that's target, kick him out. And I'm like, I didn't see anything. Again, I'm a defensive guy. So it didn't look like malicious with the hit on Purdy. To me, it looked like because he had a guy. You got Purdy running at a defender, like literally straight towards a defender. You have a defender running straight towards Brock Purdy, and the defender had his hand up to try to knock the ball down. That's what they do. They try to like match their hand with the throwing hand of a quarterback, and he's running at him. He didn't lower his head. He didn't like lower the crown of his helmet. He didn't try to like throw him to the ground or drive him into the ground. He just kind of ran at him with his hand up and ran straight into him. And Brock Purdy ended up falling down. Luckily, I heard Deebo afterwards say, it was just a stinger. But I think just it felt like this concussion. That's why I thought initially. Yeah. And so I was a little bit, I won't say worried. I was just like, I feel like Darnold, but it was very good to see him come right back and then hit some throws and it's like, all right, here we go.
Can I ask a stupid question? Is like a stinger like a mini concussion? Isn't that like a mini concussion? Like you're kind of out of it, but just for a second, right?
Nah, stinger's in the shoulder.
Oh, okay. See, I'm dumb. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Stinger's in the shoulder, and it's like your like arm and stuff kind of like goes numb a little bit.
Yikes.
Or a lot of bit, yeah. Okay. And it just feels like your like arm is kind of dead for a second.
Well, the good thing is he's better, and it was no problem. But it was scary for a second. I felt like
it was. It was. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how'd you feel about Sam Darnold's moment to shine?
Anytime a quarterback, and again, everybody has different expectations, but I have no expectations for a quarterback coming off the bench. Like, they don't get many reps in practice. That's what makes what Brock Purdy did against the Dolphins last year that much more special, right? Because you see a guy come in and he is just like playing very well. And it's like, damn, that's pretty cool. Like, you don't see that because a lot of these times when this backup quarterback comes in, they didn't have no reps throughout the week. They weren't really able to like truly prepare for the opponent. So, he came in, it was a little erratic or whatever, but it wasn't anything that I wouldn't expect to see. Like it wasn't like, I guess, and I'll say this, if he had a full week to prepare, do I think it would have looked better on those two plays? And I would say, yeah. So, it wasn't something I was too worried about. Matter of fact, one of the throws was on target. Kittle just kind of dropped it, but it was even better to know that Brock Purdy was coming back and you don't have to kind of like cross your fingers for an entire game. I wouldn't, that would be not as pleasant to watch.
Did you feel like Brock Purdy like cemented himself as the MVP or at least in the front runner of that conversation with this game?
I think Dak Prescott cemented Brock Purdy as the MVP.
Yeah.
And I talked to him.
He had an opportunity and he did not do anything with it.
Yeah, you got to score 80 yards.
Is your brother there still? Did you get to rub that in?
He's not here. I talked to him this morning. I was on the treadmill doing a little jog, and my brother was like, I was like, bro, what the hell happened? Because I wasn't able to watch it. And he was, and usually I watch the Cowboy games. I was like, bro, what the hell happened? He was like, we just played bad. It just looked like it was just bad. It was just one of those bad games. And I was just like, oh, okay. I'm pretty sure we'll talk more about it in a minute. DJ Level says, nah, a stinger is like your whole body go numb. And I think your whole body can go numb. I've experienced several stingers. Like as a defensive back, you're gonna experience some stingers in your life, especially if you hit like a larger person. And it's like this, like now, I don't know. Okay, here I should say this. I don't know if there's different like severities to getting a stinger. I only know the stingers, several of them that I've experienced playing defensive back. And a lot of times it's I'm running at a guy and it hits like right on this like pressure point, and then it just like that side goes numb. But that's all I've experienced. So maybe your whole body can go numb. Uh, I just haven't experienced that. So I don't know. Damon says that's a neck stinger when your whole body goes numb. So maybe I haven't had a neck stinger, which could be different. Which again, I didn't even know.
Just start up the conversation. I had no idea. I was out here thinking it was like your head. So,
guys, yeah. Now, if you get a stinger to your head, that is a concussion. I would assume, you know what I'm saying? Like that sounds more like a concussion, which initially, just because of the contact, it was like the face. Now, again, I was watching on my phone, so you guys could correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I felt like the face mask of the defender hit Brock like in his face mask.
I agree.
Almost like he was giving him a kiss. But again, I would prefer that than lowering the crown of your helmet into the chin of Brock. Like that's dangerous. But when you're just running at a guy trying to knock the ball down, and you guys are just kind of like.
Can I ask what your worst hit ever was? Do you remember it? Like, is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah, there's two of them. They both happened my freshman year of high school. So freshman year of high school, I went to Sunnyside.
You all the way in the NFL, and your worst one's in high school?
Yeah, I played DB though. So DB, you don't really take like a whole lot of hits for real.
Okay.
A lot of times you're doing the hitting, and you know what I'm saying, like you're doing the hitting as a DB. So I can kind of change how a lot of times how I absorb the impact.
Yeah. You're like bracing ahead of time.
Right. But in high school I played both ways. And even for college I got recruited to play receiver as well. But my freshman year I ran a slant. And I ran a slant, quarterback threw it, I caught it, and the linebacker or safety, whoever it was, just boom, drilled me. I mean, just drilled me. Chin straps came unbuckled, everything, right? Oh, no. Hardest hit was in college. All right, but hold on. I'll talk about this one. Okay. So, chin strap came unbuckled. I ran for another 25 yards, like down the sideline. Don't remember playing at all.
No.
Another one, same year, freshman year. Shout out to my guy, Joseph Turner. And it was that stupid drill where you lay on your back, they blow the whistle, you pop up, and then you go head up. It's like really stupid. I wouldn't have any kids do that. I don't even know what the point of it was. Anyways, we're walking home after practice, and Joseph was like, "Man, Croc, I rocked you, man." I'm like, "At least I didn't fall down." They were like, "You're Croc, you were down for like 5 minutes. What are you talking about?" That definitely probably concussed. And then the hardest hit, my guy DJ Stevens. So this is spring ball going into my senior year of college. And I'm doing punt returns, and the punter kicks a line drive. Right, this is just a scrimmage. I'm not even really supposed to be live for real, but the coach said it's live. He didn't mean the returner's live. He just meant everything else is live. Like the punt, getting down, the gunners, all that stuff is live. The returner is not live, which is Eric Crocker at the time. And the punter kicked a line drive, and my guy DJ Stevens. So I'm running. And I put my arms in, and the ball ricochets off my chest, hits my hands, and pops straight up. So I'm looking up for the ball like that, about to catch it, and boom, I just get drilled from the side. DJ Stevens, that's my dog. He's my bro. My wife and I were getting our vows renewed. He doesn't even know it yet, but he's going to be in the wedding. But hit me right underneath my chin. Helmet flew off, blood everywhere, broke my jaw in 3 places. I had to wire my jaw shut for 5 weeks. And I lost like 30 pounds. Yeah, that's the hardest hit I've ever taken.
That's fucking crazy. And you guys are friends now? Did he feel terrible?
That's my dog. Yeah, he felt at first he's like, hell yeah, because he's not like a big dude. Yeah, so You know, he's like 5'11", 175. You know, freakish receiver, toughest receiver at any level I've ever had to guard. But which was crazy.
Clearly.
He wasn't even like hella fast. But that's the hardest he's ever hit anybody. So he was like, hell yeah. Then he realized like, damn, Crockett's hurt. And like I got up, I was trying to go back in, and the trainer was like, "Nah, Croc, you broke your jaw." And I'm like, "Hell no, I ain't break my jaw. I thought I broke a tooth, and I thought just had a tooth coming out, but my jaw was like uneven from the break. Yeah, it was. That's the hardest I've ever taken.
Oh,
And I tried to
okay.
go back in. Real nigga from Stockton, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, moving along, we talked about the 49ers being battle tested, and
For the, I was gonna, good.
go ahead.
I was gonna ask you about Christian McCaffrey's performance and in comparison. And then also like Deebo, I feel like is performing how he was in 2021. I was just gonna ask you to talk about that when you were talking about the offense, but I see that it's the next topic.
Yeah. So moving along, we are talking about the 49ers offense, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, and kind of what they're doing. We'll start with, because we're going to get to Brock Purdy, MVP, all that, which he is. But Deebo Samuel, did the Philadelphia Eagles fans poke the bear? Because
I love that.
I think they poked the bear. They woke him up a little bit. And he wasn't having a great year prior to the Eagles game. It was just kind of whatever. You knew he at any time, like, you know, he could be dangerous or whatnot. But he has been on a tear since then. The Eagles fans were mocking Deebo. They were saying that Deebo had 2 touchdowns on the year. Him and Darius Slay have the same amount of touchdowns. Deebo is just a running back. Then we saw Deebo Samuel go crazy against Philadelphia Eagles. And really, since that game, since the start of the Eagles game, Deebo Samuel has scored 7 touchdowns. 7. So that was like 3 in that game, 2 in another game,
2 yesterday.
2 yesterday. Yeah, so I mean 7 touchdowns in 3 games. That's killing it, absolutely balling. When you see Deebo doing what he does, and we know what Brandon Ayuk is as a receiver as well, how much more confidence do you end up having like in this offense and just like it almost feels unstoppable? I'm like, okay, at some
Yeah.
point, maybe you have to come down to earth, but they're just making it look so easy. Part of it is Deebo Samuel and how he's playing. What's your thoughts on Deebo right now?
I completely agree. I feel like that's what makes it feel unstoppable, right? And any hesitancy that we might have about calling it that, in my opinion, would be fear that like Deebo or Christian McCaffrey or Ayuk, one of those players, but mostly Christian McCaffrey or Deebo wasn't performing up to their level that they can. Because when those two are performing at their highest level, to be honest, I don't think it even matters to anyone else on the team. I mean, that is 2 MVP level players, like Chris McCaffrey this year has been playing like an MVP since he got to the 49ers, honestly, has been playing like an MVP. Deebo Samuel in 2021 was an MVP candidate and was playing like an MVP and got paid because of that performance. And Kyle Shanahan in his press conference yesterday said that he thinks that Deebo's playing his best football right now. If you were to extrapolate what Deebo Samuel has done in these last 3 games over the course of the season, I think he'd be unquestioned MVP over Brock Purdy, over Dak, over Chris McCaffrey, over Tyreek Hill. Like when he's this level of player, to me, he leaves no doubt that he's the best player in the NFL because he has so many aspects to him that are great. That he's so physical. He's good in the run game. He's good in the pass game. He's been getting downfield. I mean, I know those things are schemed up by Kyle Shanahan, but like actually running his routes, I really love seeing that because I think as a fan who's seen Deebo at his highest, and I think this comes across in the way that Kyle Shanahan speaks about Deebo too. I think it can almost feel, I don't know, disappointing seems patronizing, so maybe that's not the right word, but like you know that Christian McCaffrey is the best that he can be because every single game he's putting 110% into every rep and into the entire preparation. Where with Deebo, I feel like he's one of those guys that has just like all the natural ability. And when it comes down to him, is like, are you going to put the work in? Because when you're putting the work in, when you're determined, when it's the Philadelphia Eagles, or I know it's been not those games, but when some spark is in you and you decide that you want to be the best player, there's no doubt that you're the best player. So yeah, I think when he's performing like this is an unstoppable offense. I think the only question or the reason that people would, be hesitant about that is we've seen him not have that determination and have that sway come and go. Now maybe he sees the finish line. Maybe he sees. I mean, I think in 2019, like he had a chance to be the Super Bowl MVP in that game if Kyle Shanahan would have given him the ball in the final parts of the game. So maybe he's kind of like heard the noise with Christian McCaffrey. Like I also know Kyle Shanahan blamed a little bit of it on injuries. I don't know what the change is. It made sense to me that he was different in the Philadelphia game, but the fact that he's stuck with it, I mean, I'm so excited, ecstatic as a fan, and I hope that it continues. But I would be lying if I said I'm not nervous for there to be kind of like a letdown because we've seen that with Deebo.
I like how you talked about how it does he see the finish line, right? And I talked about coming on here how I just came from the gym and I just went on and jogged a couple miles. And I would say the last quarter mile, like I just keep ramping the speed up. Like I'm going faster and faster and faster, right? Because you see the finish line. So it's like I'm gonna go the hardest now because like I see it's just almost like I'm almost done there. Let me kick it into overdrive. And I wonder if that is what Deebo Samuel is doing right now, where he sees kind of like, all right, it's a long season. And I saw someone in the chat say maybe he kind of paces himself a little bit. I think he just kind of goes about it. I'm just going to do my thing. But there definitely feels like a different level of like Deebo Samuel that we're seeing right now over the last few games. That's just like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Anytime I touch the ball, I'm truly a threat to score. I can take it the distance. And one thing that I really love seeing, whether it was he did it early in the Giants game, or not early in the Giants, early in the season in the Giants game, but he did it again. Being able to make those contested catches. And I think that kind of takes us into Brock Purdy and how well Brock Purdy's playing right now. You can talk about the wide open throw, right? I don't know what the hell happened on the first Deebo Samuel touchdown where he kind of like was able to just jog his route, then jog, catching the ball, then jog into the end zone. Like he was so wide open. And people would say, look, see, that's why Brock Purdy is not NFL MVP. Look how just wide open Deebo Samuel is. And you see the Christian McCaffrey throw down the field where I thought he did a great job of escaping the pocket, creating more space and time, and somehow Christian McCaffrey uncovering himself. He throws it downfield. Boom, you get Christian McCaffrey so wide open. He catches the ball, falls on his face, gets up, still runs into the end zone, right? But you can't take anything away from him on that second Deebo Samuel touchdown pass. It was a great location. When you talk about throwing a receiver open, that is the epitome of it. Like just a pass where even though the defensive back is plastered on Deebo Samuel, it does not matter. He threw it low away and a great adjustment by Deebo Samuel to kind of be on the same page as Brock on where he was throwing the ball. So, I think those are the things right there you talked about early on. Is this a conversation with MVP? I don't think there is a conversation. I think Brock Purdy, his level of consistency that he's playing with right now, and we're talking about a very high level, being number one in most statistical categories that matter as a quarterback, it doesn't get much better than what we're seeing right now. So Brock Purdy, definitely MVP. I think this game kind of solidified it.
How did you feel about him at the podium saying that he thought that Christian McCaffrey was the MVP? Is that just something you expect kind of from your quarterback?
I think that's what players do a lot of times, right? Tyreek Hill a few weeks ago was asked about MVP and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, I think the MVP should be Tua. I bet if you ask Christian McCaffrey, he'd say, I think the MVP should be Brock. So I think some of these players, and I think that's the beauty about a lot of these football players, a lot of these great football players, they're really selfless. And Christian McCaffrey, very selfless. Deebo Samuel, selfless. Like, Kyle, I know he's going to give me the ball, and when he gives me the ball, I'm going to ball out. I think all these guys are so selfless that they'll probably say the other guy. And I truly feel like when Brock Purdy says, MVP is really Christian McCaffrey, I think he understands maybe how much of the offense goes through CMC. But even then, the level of efficiency, and that's kind of the biggest thing for me, that Brock is playing at is unmatched around the NFL right now. Yeah. And I think because of that and him really elevating the play of others, it's hard to see like how a quarterback on his team is elevating the play of all these amazing football players. But when you throw that touchdown he did to Deebo Samuel, like that's elevating the play of already a great player. I think that's the ultimate compliment that I can give for Brock Purdy. And he can say CMC is the MVP But I think in everybody else's eyes, it's definitely going to be Brock Purdy.
I completely agree. Who was it? I think it might have been Kurt Warner who said that there hasn't been a quarterback that's like led the like been first in so many statistical categories that hasn't won MVP so far.
Right. And shoes, I think he could have just stopped and said there hasn't been a lot of quarterbacks in this many categories. I mean, just in general. I mean, just
It does feel like every game throughout the season. I don't know. Jordan Elliott, he writes for NSNBC News. Used to write for Niners Nation, and he put out a tweet, and this was weeks ago, where he was like, "I feel like every game I'm talking about a new record that the 49ers and or Brock Purdy are breaking," and that's how they've been all season long. It's just like tearing down narratives or doubts or whatever that people have been. And I think that's the most fun part about watching Brock Purdy. And why another reason why he should get the MVP is because I do think that there is some like storyline aspect to it. Him being the last pick of the draft, him having so much doubt, even all throughout this entire season, and kind of always bouncing back. I made a joke yesterday that I felt like he was game changing yesterday. He was a game changer, and I feel like I do think that the people that vote on those things like those narratives. So I think the fact that he has so many doubters and then has been able to come back and kind of be like, oh, you don't think I can throw down the field? Boom. Oh, you don't think I can handle pressure? Let me scribble up, boom, throw down here. Oh, like, you don't think I have good athletic ability? Let me run for a first down. Oh, you don't think I'm game changing? Let me throw 4 touchdowns, like, and touchdowns that are because of me. So
I think I keep going back to his efficiency. I think his efficiency is game changing because we've seen guys make special plays, special throws, and in special moments. But to have a quarterback that you are like the 49ers are rarely in a bad position because of how efficient he is. I think that's game changing. I keep wanting to see this team, and I don't know, like I would rather 49ers win like they did yesterday and blow everybody out. But I'm like, that final thing. I made a video which got like a lot of views, but I made a video about like that final thing. I want to see like that killer instinct, that killer like, and it's like, well, maybe, and I think at some point you will see it, but we more times than not don't have to see it because he plays so well and efficient throughout games that the 49ers are rarely in a position to have to like come back from behind late. And it's really odd. Like, it's really odd. It's something that I've never seen. I mean, even in games, I mean, we think about, if I ask you right now, what was Jimmy Garoppolo's best games?
Saints game, right?
Saints game, right? Like, had to come from behind. Like, had to, thug it out. Had to figure out late in the game. There were some other games like against the Cardinals where he threw for like 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. I've been on kind of like this thing of, I feel like people are talking really crazy about Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll save that for another day. But, but there were some games where it's like, man, like late. I was at the game where he threw the Texas route touchdown to Jeff Wilson, like walk-off touchdown, where he had over 400 yards in that game. You just, a lot of times there's just a quarterback has to have these big games and he has to put up these big numbers. And then it's like, okay, like come from behind. Whoo, like that was big time. And Brock is just, more times not, he just doesn't have to because in like that Arizona game where Jimmy threw 2 interceptions. And that made the game be closer than they had to be. In that Saints game, Jimmy threw an interception. Like the game ended up having to be closer than they had to be. And one thing that we're seeing from Brock right now is
like his consistency almost works against his narrative.
His consistency works against his narrative. Yes.
That's so interesting.
I might, when I cut this up, I might title this that. Brock's consistency works against the narrative because he is so efficient and makes it look so easy that it almost looks like, oh man, like, no, it's everybody else, this and that. And it's just like, you see the touchdown to Christian McCaffrey, and that was a Texas route touchdown. And, just, kind of filtering through, boom, sees it, boom, hits it, throw it, and it looks like pitch and catch. And it's like, oh, it's so easy. But it's just like, man, he just continues to find the right answer. And this wasn't even his, like, most efficient game. I think he completed 64% of his passes. After like 8 straight games of like over 70%. This wasn't even like his most efficient game, but even then it's like still put up like dominant numbers. So I think we're going to continue to see that from him. And yeah, he's killing it. Uh,
Definitely.
we're gonna get over to like the defense a little bit, and you had a
Yes.
question for me.
Okay, so I was watching Eric Armstead's podcast, and he had Mooney Ward on. And first of all, Mooney Ward talked about himself and called himself a top 5 cornerback. And then he kind of paused and he was like, "Well, I think I'm top 3, but the only reason I'm not number 1 is because I don't have interceptions and pick sixes, and that's how people make their name." And so then Eric Armstead set up like a scenario, and he said, "Okay, for the next game, if you had to choose between giving up 150 yards but getting 2 interceptions, or being completely locked down, 0 yards given up, and you're targeted. It's not just like they're not like, but you are locked down. They are not getting anything on you, but you get no interceptions. Which one would you choose?" And Mooney Ward went on to talk about, he said, "Well, if I was just about to get paid, I would choose the 2 interceptions because that's what matters. But if I'm talking about my play style, I think I'm more the lockdown one." And then he talked about, he was like, "I promise I'm going to get a pick six and an interception before the season ends." And then he got both in this game, which is crazy. He totally called his number. But I thought that scenario of the 150 yards and 2 interceptions, or no yards but 0 interceptions, was interesting, hearing it from a player's perspective. And I wanted to know what you thought about it and what you would do, and if you agreed with his answer about it being like, yeah.
So I always prided myself when I played on, you don't want to give anything up. And it's a pride thing, right? Like you never forget that. Let's say if I gave up, matter of fact, this happened. Junior year, we were playing against uh Harding University. It's a college in Arkansas. And I gave up a 75-yard touchdown. Like just got cooked, right? It was like a running team. They ran a lot of like the little fakes and all that. Then all of a sudden I thought a guy was going in and boom, he popped out and hit me for a big touchdown, right? Longest touchdown I've ever given up in my life. And like to this day, he can always say that. Like, oh yeah, I remember I cooked that cornerback from UAM. You know what I'm saying? Like cooked him 75-yard touchdown. So that's the part when we talk about pride, like you don't want to give up yards. You don't want to give up those plays. But as far as if we're talking about like game changing, and then I give a touchdown, so that's different as well. But if we're talking about game changing, I remember someone told me like, Croc, uh, it's offensive driven leagues. So you're gonna give up point yards, you're gonna give up some plays, but ultimately it's about making plays and set your team up in a good position. So yeah, you might give up some catches, first down, whatever. But if you get an interception, that is game changing. You're taking points off the board from them, and then you're potentially set your team up to score more points. You're taking a possession away. So, selfishly, I would love to just hold a receiver to 0 yards and say I shut that dude down. But what's best for the team is really you get those 2 interceptions. That makes a huge difference, especially
Well,
on a
that's
team that can
interesting because
capitalize
I
on it.
thought maybe they canceled each other out, but you're saying it's actually better. That's interesting.
Yeah. Unless you're giving up touchdowns. Like if you're giving up touchdowns, you're getting bombed on and giving up touchdowns, and that's one thing. But if you're
Yeah.
giving up some yards, some plays, and maybe they kick a field goal, and maybe, but then at the end of the day, because they're going to score at some point, most of these teams, right? Like 49ers gave up 29 points yesterday.
Yeah.
But how big was Mooney Ward's pick six and the other
Yeah.
interception? Like how much? For the Cardinals to still put up 29 points, but he had a pick
Yeah,
six.
that's kind of crazy, right?
Big of how much did that change the
Not only
trajectory?
did it give the Niners points, but it took away opportunities from the Cardinals.
Exactly. And
That's
his interception, that pick six, that was a long pick, right? We're talking about they're in 49ers territory and he rips it off and takes it to the crib. Like that's a what at the very least a 10-point swing. Like that's huge,
yeah.
you know. So I think PFF and fans probably would say shut a receiver down. But if we're talking about what was really going to change the game, I think the interceptions are more important than giving up 150 yards.
Well, I
Now
like
you
that.
rather have both. You rather have both. Hey, let me shut a dude down and get 2 picks in the pick six. But if I had to choose between two scenarios, I'm definitely taking the 2 interceptions and giving up 150.
Do you think that there's just something kind of like inherently about a player that makes them more prone to getting interceptions, or do you think it's all luck? Because Mooney Ward did talk about like he was like, I want to get more, but like I've always been more of a lockdown guy. So he said like maybe he kind of struggles with getting the ball in his hands.
So Mooney is somebody that plays a lot at the line of scrimmage, and a lot of times, and I kind of went through this scenario with Peacock because everybody makes fun of DBs not having good hands. A lot of times, catching the ball as a defender is drastically different than catching the ball as a receiver. Like it's just way different. A receiver, you understand when you're likely getting the ball, that you understand the timing of it, you know where you're going, and you have more time to track the ball in. As a defensive back, a lot of times you're getting your head around late, and the ball jumps on you. So what I told the Locked On 49ers audience, and what I challenge our audience right now, have somebody just throw something at you, a ball or, ball up socks, like something, right? Face the opposite way of them, right? And they throw it. And whenever that object is halfway to you, they have to say ball. You have to flip around and catch it. Like,
yeah, it's me in the face for sure.
And see like how quick that ball jumps on you. And as a DB, that's the world that they live in. So a lot of times it's the ball jumping in on you. So Mooney Ward, who leads the NFL in pass breakups, right? A lot of times it's, man, like I'm able to track this ball in, but it's so late. Let me get my hand and knock the ball away. Now, the guys that have like perfect ball skills like Darrelle Revis, it just didn't matter, right? Like he was going to get his interceptions regardless, even though he was a man guy. A lot of times, if you guys remember a few years back, there was cornerback Josh Jackson. He played for Iowa. He had like 8 interceptions, and people are like, "Oh, he's a shutdown guy." And I'm watching the film. I'm like, no, the hell he's not. He's in this Iowa scheme where he's playing off coverage, and he understands route concepts, and he's seeing the ball thrown, so he's able to make plays on it. Now he is doing that at a very high level, but in the NFL, like you're going to have to play more man. You're going to have to be able to have good feet, change your direction, good hips. And I thought all those things were kind of tight with him. So I didn't think he would be just this consistent playmaker at the NFL level that he was in college. And I think when you think of guys like Mooney Ward, and what he does best, it is playing press man at the line of scrimmage against guys. And that is more difficult to consistently get interceptions. Think about his pick six. And I didn't even see his second interception. But think about his pick six. He's coming downhill. Like he probably saw the ball thrown. He's coming downhill. Now the ball's not jumping up on him. He sees it thrown. He sees it. He can make a play on the ball, reading, react, and boom, he catches the ball. Of course he did. Because that is the more ideal scenario for a defensive back going to catch a pick. And that's why you see some safeties have more interceptions than corners.
Yeah.
Because some of the time, depending on the scheme, of course, but you'll see safeties.
When I think about the 49ers, I feel like when I think about the interceptions that like Hufanga got, it was a lot of those.
Because they see the ball thrown. Yeah. So it's a little easier to make the deal. Now, the other argument too is that DBs, a lot of their catches on the ball, the interceptions are in traffic. So like a lot of times if they break on the ball, there might be like a collision at the catch point, or there's some kind of distraction, or a receiver, doing something. It's not as pitch and catch as it is for a quarterback to a receiver.
Now, I know every player kind of thinks that they're the best in their position, but do you think that Mooney Ward, there's any justification? I mean, he called himself top 5 and top 3, but do you think he's top 10? Do you think that he can continue to extend to get better at his position and kind of make a more dominant name for himself? Or do you think that's something everyone says, like, "Oh, I'm the best"? I know Ayuk did the same thing when he was on Armstead's podcast. He was like, "Oh, ranked top 5," and he was like, "Well, me." So I think that's a mentality you gotta have if you make it to the NFL.
I'm gonna kind of take the easy way out a little bit with this conversation, but when at the NFL level, and this was something that I quickly realized, the separation gap between talent is not nearly as drastic as most fans think. So on any given day, Mooney Ward could be a top 5, top 10 corner, right? And I think we could say the same for a decent amount of other corners around the league that should be able to have that same type of argument. One thing about Mooney Ward, a lot of people don't even realize, right? And again, this kind of goes to what I'm saying. He was an undrafted rookie free agent, drafted by the undrafted, signed by the Dallas Cowboys, cut by the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think that Mooney Ward just all of a sudden became this terrific corner? Like, no, he's always been that. but the separation between most of the guys is so small that even on a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who kind of have their roster set, it would be hard for an undrafted guy to take a spot from these other guys that they like already on their roster. And so again, I say that to say there are a lot of players in the league that play well. The biggest difference a lot of times is just consistency. But I would say that his consistency right now that he's played with the 49ers should have him up there.
Okay, I like that. I was just curious because when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's not something that people who aren't him would say. But I mean, he is right. Doesn't he have like the least? He's leading all cornerbacks and like giving up the least amount of yards and stuff. And I don't know. I do think
I know this about Mooney Ward. I think, and I see some of my guys coming to bat for him, the Darius Butler, maybe I'll have Darius come on here and talk about Mooney Ward. But Mooney Ward is playing at an all-pro level for the 49ers. And I think that's the most important thing.
That's all that matters for us. Now, Armstead and Hargrave were out, and the run defense suffered. Do you think that they'll be back next week? How did you feel watching the 49ers run defense yesterday?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they're back soon. You definitely don't want to see the 49ers give up that type of yardage on the ground to an Arizona Cardinals team, and then you turn around and you got to play another bird team, the Baltimore Ravens, and we know what they like. We know exactly what they want to do. They want to pound the rock. They want to run down the middle. They want to get Lamar Jackson on the edge. We know Lamar Jackson, who I feel like has lost a step, but he's still dynamic as a runner. It's just not as like I feel like early in his career it was like must see TV, which is how elusive and dynamic he was. Now it's just like he's still upper echelon talented quarterbacks in the NFL, but it doesn't quite look the same. But he's still that. Like he's still like that guy running the ball. I watched him last night and I'm like, man, he's still making plays, making guys miss in space. He can still make the throws. Odell Beckham is starting to come on a little more. The running game. They got Mitchell, and I don't know if Mitchell was hurt. Keaton Mitchell, the rookie defensive back that they have. But you're going to need your big guys in this game because one thing about the Baltimore Ravens and how they've built this team over the years, they built their team to be big. So you're missing Hargrave, you're missing Armstead. This is a team that will impose their will on the defensive line.
They have that same sort of physicality narrative that the 49ers do. Like, I feel like when people talk about the 49ers, they're like, that's a physical team. I feel like people talk about the Ravens in the same way.
Yeah, I just think that the 49ers are just more talented. Now, again, you got to go.
Yeah. That's for sure.
This is a team that these teams got the same record. And, some people I saw actually earlier, I should have tagged or, started the comment in the chat, but they're like, oh, man, mainstream media hates what they say. Mainstream media hates Brock Purdy so much they've inserted Lamar Jackson to the MVP conversation. Like he's been there. Yeah. He just is lower, and he's still much lower than Brock. Like Brock Purdy has the clear best odds. But for anyone, if they're talking about Lamar Jackson in the MVP conversation, deservedly so. Like, name 3 players on their offense.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is out, so I don't even know.
Like, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't name 3 players on their offense. And I'm not saying they don't have 3 good players. I can name some guys, Zay Flowers.
My brain, I just thought Mark Andrews, and then I thought Hollywood Brown, and I'm like, neither of them are there.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they have some guys, but they ain't got. It's not like they're just loaded. A lot of everything that kind of moves them is their quarterback. Yeah. They really come and go as Lamar. Like, if Lamar is having an off game, like, he can't even have a down moment. Like, he can't, like, and he's not playing as well as Brock.
He's definitely a truck, right?
He is a truck. He is
using that reference. He's not hitching onto anyone. They're all hitching onto him.
Now the defense is good too. And that's even more. We talk about the 49ers missing some of their defensive linemen, but their defense is what could impose more of a challenge. They're fast, they're physical, they're gonna hit. Like they are gritty. I think they're pushing pockets. They got big bodies. Their linebackers are playing well. Their safety, Kyle Hamilton, Hamilton, Florida State kid, long, tall, 6'4",
Yeah, Kyle Hammond.
safety. He's playing well. So like their defense is what they're probably gonna kind of hang their hat on. Everybody's naming players, but even then, it's just like they're naming like Baltimore players, but it's like
Dave's good.
who are these people?
Odell's old.
Like who are you know what I'm saying? Like Zay Flowers is nice. I would like to see him in the 49ers offense.
Is he a rookie this year? Or is this
Yeah, out of Boston College.
Yeah.
I think most people, just if you say like
But that's what I'm saying. Rookie, I don't know who Gus is. Odell is old. I don't know who Likely is.
Edwards is
Andrew is out.
Gus Edwards is this running back who probably wouldn't even make the 49ers roster. Like I mean he runs straight hard, like a big running back, but he ain't. Isaiah Likely, he's had to come on. I like Likely. I liked him coming out of Coastal Carolina. I think he slipped. I think Likely slipped in the draft because he didn't run a fast 40. And he was coming out of Coastal Carolina. He was clearly a pass-catching tight end. And I thought he was, very fluid, moved well. I think early on, especially his rookie year, this is like year 2 for him, maybe year 3. But his rookie year, it looked like, oh, man, there's a lot of promise with this kid. Then I'm not sure exactly what happened after that. But we name these players, and when you see Mr. Blue Magic and he says compare that to Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Juszczyk, it's like it is not close. So anybody that has Lamar in the MVP conversation and DJ says, Croc, don't give him bulletin board material. Definitely not. I think what I'm saying is if you have Lamar in the MVP conversation, it's because his supporting cast isn't the greatest. And the team is 11-3.
Yeah, which shows how good Lamar Jackson is.
Which shows how good. Now, again, his numbers they're not like, whoa, look at these numbers. But when the 49ers go and play them Monday night, you're gonna
see it.
Feel like, oh, Lamar. And matter of fact, and again, this is a conversation that some people will have about MVP candidate, like why it should be CMC over Brock or whatever. But when we think about the Baltimore Ravens, the first thing you think about is you got to stop Lamar Jackson. And when you think about the 49ers, who's the first guy that they think of? Or the first 2 guys? Like, you know what I'm saying?
McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. Like, there's a lot of people before Brock Purdy.
Right. And that's not a knock on Brock. Like, Brock is doing his thing. But, again, that when you start talking about MVP and why there might be some pushback, I think that's why people might say those things.
You think he'd be 4th? I think it probably goes Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. And then Brock Purdy, maybe?
I think it
goes listing people after the first 3, to be honest.
I think it goes Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. And then I think it's like, all right, let's see what does Brock like to do? And then Eric Armstead, Brandon Ayuk is like the X factor, like that the guy who can get off at any time and he can put up 80, 100 yards before you blink. But I do think it starts with Kyle Shanahan, and then it goes to Christian McCaffrey, and then Deebo Samuel. And you might have Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel kind of both in the sense of like, how are they going to utilize these guys? Are they going to be in the backfield at the same time? And I think that's like a lot of defenses are kind of focusing on that. And then you get to Brock, and it's just like, damn, we forgot about him, and he's like the most efficient quarterback in NFL history. Yeah. So JM617 has a great thing here, and maybe we can end on this. Or no, I had one more thing I want to talk about, but do you think after this game? Matter of fact, JM617.
I think it already happened.
I was about to say, I think it already happened. I think Brock already has the MVP wrapped up. I don't see a scenario unless Brock just lays an egg the next 3, which he has shown no signs, even in games that the 49ers lost outside of he would have to have multiple games like he had against the Browns, which I thought he played like ass against the Browns.
Yeah.
And he would have to have, but we're talking about one game all year where I felt like he played like ass. He would have to have multiple games like that, multiple performances like that. And I do not foresee that happening. So unless something drastic like that happens, which was happened one time this whole year, not even again, I talked about the Vikings game. I thought he played well. He just got concussed at the end, and it did not end well. He turned the ball over multiple times. The Bengals game, I thought he played well. He just turned the ball over multiple times late in the game, and it did not end well.
But
But
even that game, if he would have made, is that the right one? Making the kick at the end? No, that's Browns.
that's the Browns, and he played like ass in that game. He still kind of had a chance to win. So
It's funny that that's the one game that he actually played really bad, and then but that's also the game where if Jake Moody made a field goal kick, I feel like people wouldn't bring it up.
right,
It's so funny.
I think you would. I think for people who, if you're looking at maybe how to beat the 49ers, you know,
Okay.
you got one, you got to have the Browns secondary, which most teams just don't. Two, you got to have Myles Garrett, which nobody has. And three, you need to bring that weather that they had in Cleveland that day. And you're just likely not going to have a combination of all three of those to take out the 49ers.
I don't
You're
know why I don't know this, but I'm blanking on it. The Ravens is a home game, right?
yeah,
And they have Raekwon Smith, they have Kyle Hamilton. They have a good defense.
the defense is really good, fast and physical,
Yeah.
really good.
I just think as long as Fred Warner and Drager and them make their tackles, I can't see them losing. But I think even if they lost right now, because the Dallas Cowboys just laid an egg, Eagles are playing tonight. Is Jalen Hurts even going to play? Did you hear that report that he might not play? So, like, it's possible the 49ers have set themselves up to be in a position that even if they lose, they could still get that first seed. Now, I don't predict that they're going to lose, but
Right. So you look at the, I mean, really right now, and you got the Eagles, you got the Seahawks. Seahawks are at home. All right. So there is a chance, Seahawks are at home. Is Geno Smith playing? You asked if Jalen Hurts is playing. Let's see if Geno Smith is playing. Let's see what the talk is about that, because I think that's big. I think that's big. So
really, you don't think Drew Lock is just going to come in there?
nah, check with him at quarterback. On Geno Smith has to improve a lot from now until game time, considered a bit of a long shot. That's not good for 49ers.
No.
All right, we want Geno Smith playing, and it doesn't look like he's probably going to play. All right, let's look at Jalen Hurts and see what they're saying about him. He came down with some kind of illness and didn't sound too good. So Jalen Hurts on his way to Seattle. Jalen is separate from Philly, so he flew private by himself. Looked like a young lady's with him. All right, but Jalen Hurts is likely playing. Geno Smith is a long shot, so that's officially what they.
Dang. Thought we had a little bit of hope there. Never mind. Well,
very slim.
If the Eagles have to drop another game, right? Well, it doesn't matter if they win. The 49ers win.
At the end of the day, the 49ers hold the keys. Yeah. It's up to them. So that's how like control what you can control. For you got Baltimore, you got to handle that, right? You control.
I feel more confident that they can handle that the Baltimore Ravens now than I did at the beginning of the season. I think I predicted it to be a loss. Where now I'm not that I don't think it'll be hard, but it's so hard. And I know that little losing streak happened, but I feel like when the 49ers are playing this good, it's so hard to like envision a game where it all crumbles because you feel like so many aspects are going right. Like it doesn't feel like they're far. It feels like they're very far away from losing,
And yeah, now a team that did lose, Dallas Cowboys, that helps the 49ers, kind of gives them a little cushion because they had the same record and 49ers beat them. So 49ers are on the fast track, definitely to kind of wrapping up being like the NFC number 1 seed, which you get that first round bye. So I think that's big. But there is one team to not be slept on.
Tell me about them.
The Los Angeles Rams. I have no idea where they came from, but when I looked at the standings today, they are actually the 7th seed in the playoffs. They have been winning games. Their quarterback is healthy.
How funny would it be if they went all the way to the playoffs and then the Rams just kicked them off, dude?
It's
People
like,
would burn the streets down. Oh my
oh,
god.
like, where did y'all come from? And they just kept chipping away, kept chipping away, kept chipping away.
I feel like you and I talked about this in the beginning of the season because they were feisty and Stafford was like in and out and Cooper Kupp was completely out. And I think you were like, hey, keep an eye out for them because when Kupp comes back, they might start doing well. And they had that they have a receiver that went off and a running back. Like they have two like random offensive players that have done really well under Sean McVay.
Yeah, this is a team that started off 3-5. So they kind of remind me of the 49ers from what was it, 2021, that just like started off 3-5 and you
Oh
kind of
yeah, that's scary.
and ended up going to the NFC Championship game. I feel like that's the Rams right now. So in almost the exact same scenario, because is that who the 49ers played last game of the season? Hold on, let me see. 49ers played them last game of the season. And that's who 49ers played last game of the season 2021.
Yeah.
To go to the playoffs. I feel like that same exact scenario is setting up. Where's that game at? That game is in again, same exact scenario. It's on the road for the Rams. It was on the road for the 49ers.
I love that.
That
It's
is
funny, I feel like that doesn't super matter with the like I almost feel like the 49ers like going into LA and like teaching them a lesson in their home turf. Don't you feel like that? Like I feel like when the 49ers and Rams match up, they almost play better in LA.
yeah,
Maybe not better, but it feels like they bring the energy for sure.
49ers, they've been dominating there in LA. So just keep dominating there. But I'm just kind of wanted to kind of throw that out there that they're kind of lurking in the weeds a little bit. A team that I felt like was just down and out. And it's like, oh, afterthought. Then next thing you know, it's like
I didn't you just mentioned I had no idea. I wasn't even considering like I was like, who are the Rams? They don't matter.
right. 7th seed right now. Shout out to Sean McVay. He's doing an excellent job of coaching because again, I'm really big on
Just had a baby this year too.
Did he?
Come back, right?
I'm really big on when we look at these teams and like how they stack up and stuff like that. So we want to talk about like an amazing coaching job. Just like I said about the Baltimore Ravens and their, just name some players on the offense, right? And that kind of lets you know about Lamar Jackson and how well he's playing. Name some players on that Rams defense.
Yeah, I have no idea. Besides Aaron Donald, I have no idea.
Aaron Donald, I know Kelly Witherspoon starts at corner for him.
I think there were jokes starting the season that like it was Aaron Donald and then it was like a JV team. Like,
yeah.
No one.
Don't know who these guys are. And it's just like when you talk about coaching,
practice squad play.
Most of this season, you're playing without Cooper Kupp. Games you have to play without Matthew Stafford, and you figured out a way, like because again, outside of Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, like name some Rams offensive players. Now I know they got Puka Nacua. I mean, and again, I watch every team, so I know they got Kyron Williams, running back out of Notre Dame. He's doing a terrific job running the ball. He's been a playmaker for them. I think he's doing a terrific job as a pass catcher as well. Puka Nacua, he's having a terrific rookie year. Should be up like in the rookie of the year conversation. He's doing terrific. Like so, I watch all these teams and all these games, but most people just can't. So I think that just lets you know like this is how great of a coaching job Sean McVay is doing to have this team that is not loaded. I mean, they got Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, and the others, and they are.
Like Bobby Marina, Aaron Donald, and no one else.
Yeah, I mean, so it is amazing to see kind of what they're doing right now. And that is scary because 49ers play them last game of the season. And ideally for the 49ers, this is what you hope. You hope that the Seahawks lose tonight. You hope they lose next week. And you hope the 49ers win. So then week 18, we can sit all our starters and doesn't matter if you win or lose. You go into the playoffs healthy, and
is there a scenario where they could do it so that like they could rest week 18 and still get a bye week? I also know that coaches are kind of superstitious about that, right? Like you don't want to rest too much. Because I feel like the Packers did that, and they're always out in the first whatever game that they play, whether it's the first round or if they skip the first round, out the second round.
Baltimore did that a couple years ago and it didn't work out well. But I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, because you just want to keep your guys healthy.
Yeah.
That's what first and foremost. So, you would have that opportunity. You got to handle business, and you need some things to go certain way with Philadelphia. But it is setting up to see the 49ers be the number 1 seed. So let's keep it going and have some good spirits and good conversations. But yeah, that is going to do it for this episode today. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Ashley, let everybody know where they can find you.
Please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ashley Ariana, just like it is right there. I can point so well. So yeah, please subscribe to my YouTube channel there. On Twitter, it's Ash Ariana. So you guys can follow me there. Put out a reaction to yesterday's game, and I'll be on live with Steph Sanchez at 3 today.
Where are you at with your watch hours? Do you know?
No, right? We were getting closer. Let me see. I feel like I should ask you a question while I check this.
Oh, no problem. I can just really talk about that.
Time.
Hey, my 7-on-7 squad, guys, if you guys are interested, we will be traveling and stuff like that. Loaded squad. Got a bunch of big-time DBs on my squad. A lot of times we represent the 209 Stockton, but, man, we got kids coming from all over now, so it ain't just Stockton kids.
There was someone who did something good from Stockton in a game. I was just like listening to it. It was in my phone, and you have trained me to like think 209. Like someone was like Stockton, California, and I was like 209. I don't know why that.
We have a lot of guys. So Deron Bland for the Dallas Cowboys, he's from the 209. Now he's from Modesto. Well, not the real 209. They're kind of like Stockton's little brothers. But Deron Bland, you got Brandon Cook, who's on that same team. He's from Stockton, went to Lincoln High School. Yeah, we got a lot of guys, man, especially in college football right now. A lot of kids. Shout out to my guy, Raleigh Brown. He just hit the portal, transferred, committed to Arizona State. He left USC, and, I coached him in high school his sophomore year. But, yeah, a lot of talent in the 209.
Everyone like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch the videos, because my watch time for lifetime is 3,458.3 hours. So I'm like 600, a little less than 600 away from 4,000.
So if everybody in here watches like 2 hours, everybody's in here right now watches 2 hours of your videos, you will hit your watch hours and you will be monetized. So you guys go over right now, subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch her damn videos.
Thank you. Thanks,
right. Ashley and I will be back next Monday. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow to talk more San Francisco 49ers. Until then, I'm out. Peace.
Bye.